Okay, let's move on
Okay.
to our topic of the evening, which is the OCBD and button-down collar. Now, there's not really a lot of this is kind of a free-form discussion. Um, if anyone has a thing about it, just feel free to talk. Well, don't feel free. Let me know if you're going to talk, so I can call on
Hmm.
you. But we did an episode of the podcast on this. You can listen to it on all podcasting platforms. It's a fun discussion that kind of goes into the history of it, kind of what we think about it, and what our ideal, which is probably the most important part
Yeah,
uh, what
what is the
what's
platonic ideal of the OCBD?
That's right. Um, and we it's a good discussion. There's also a good essay that I wrote about it. That's hopefully it didn't get as much traction about about like POV or whatever, but it's still very important and something that Spencer and I've kind of talked about just a little bit. People ask us because for a while we basically wore like spear points, and we say in the podcast that Spencer you started wearing more OCBDs because you've owned some, but you've
Mhm.
always liked Ivy, right? You've always had that at the like in your back pocket as a style while I was
It's
kind of getting
always been in
into
my
it.
back pocket. Yeah, I always keep a piece
Yeah.
of ivy, in my pocket.
Like a business card size piece of ivy just in your back
It's
pocket.
yeah, it's like a well, it's funny you say that. It's a like a it's like a pressing of a piece of ivy that I keep laminated on a business card.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, and
Have
that
you
Yeah.
way,
actually done that before? Like in like elementary school with leaves?
probably I've probably done one of those things. I
I
don't recall, but
yeah,
I'm sure that I have.
I think I tried it once and I was like, this isn't as cool as I thought it would go to be. And
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
that was
ta
it.
speaking about that, MJ, what do you think about the OCBD? Because you're coming at this from a different, what we wrote about in the essay. What I wrote about in the essay was like, okay, I wore spear point collars. I don't think I want to wear a spread collar to be contemporary. What is the middle ground? OCBD because it's been
Mm,
around for such a long time. It has this overt ivy nod, and you can find. Even if you don't get like the rolling collars,
mm-hmm.
like we've seen before, right? Like, and you own, I think, some of my old ones, or someone does. Jay, maybe Jay,
Yeah,
but like
both of
Uniqlo
us.
has a decent like button down collar that has, if you compare it to like H&M or J Crew, it still has
Yeah.
enough roll. It's still got a good length to it, and even I have a what do you call it? A button-down collar, the yellow linen one, which I love. That color
Mm,
is so good. It's short sleeve, unfortunately, but that one has a good roll to the collar. But you can
yeah.
find like this not anywhere. I don't think that a lot of people have that like, oh, it's ivy, but it
Mm-hmm.
to people who know, it can be that. But what is it like? What do you think about it? Because you don't have that spear point background.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it is that kind of, I don't want to wear a spread collar or I want to find something else that's different. Um,
Mhm.
and then coming from you know, seeing your fit, seeing your Spencer's fits with OCBDs, it's like I kind of know what to look for or what looks
Right.
good. Um, that's why I've been giving feedback about Uniqlo's OCBD, saying if you could just make the collar just
Collar a
like
little bit longer.
like yeah, like that much longer, like I'll buy all the colors. But because that's like the one thing. Well, one, I don't need to buy OCBDs right away since I do have some of your old ones, but
Yeah.
but
Yeah. You
yeah.
have you have my first ever Kamakura purchase, which
Hmm.
Ever?
was like first
The
ever one. It
first
was it's
one
the
of one.
blue. It's a blue like
Kamakura the
reverse
first?
stripe. It's not a yeah. It's not a university, right? It's the blue base with the white stripes, right? That's what it
Hmm.
is. Um, and this was yeah. I had always heard about it. I bought it when I went to New York for the first time since being into menswear. So this is 2017. I went with for Ascot Chang, they had an event and I went to go shoot it. The only time that ever happened, unfortunately. Um, but I had like a
Such.
day to myself, and I went to Kamakura on Madison, um, and I was like, "Well, fuck." I mean, it's like an $80 shirt at the time. I was like, I want a blue stripe one. I want a reverse stripe. I don't I don't want to just depend on eBay, and I definitely can't afford the Drake's one. I definitely can't afford it now.
Hmm.
I can't, like that's not gonna happen. But I was like, well, I'm here. This shirt's like 80 bucks or whatever. I could swing this, and it's a fun menswear thing, and I got it. Tokyo Slim fit because they measured me while I was there. Um, Tried on the vintage Ivy, and I knew I didn't like it because it's alpha size, and I didn't really work with my neck. I knew the collar was not big enough because they had, and also at the time they hadn't made the Sport Ivy one yet. Um, and so I bought it. It has a fused collar, unfortunately, and it was good for a while. It still has a good collar roll on it. It's not non-iron, but it's still like fused. You know what I mean? So,
Mm.
um, and then as soon as I bought as soon as I went to Japan and I bought the University Stripe one for like $60 instead of the 80 that you get in America, I gave the reverse stripe to MJ. Um,
So
and
MJ,
yeah, I mean,
how has that shirt treated you?
yeah.
I don't know because I'm the one that's treating it well. So, uh,
Hey.
but it's it's funny when I do wear it um to like to Uniqlo and people ask me like, oh, what's your like both customers and coworkers, they ask me about my opinion about the OCBDs, and I mean I just tell them,
Yeah.
and like they're like, okay, I think I'll buy it, but like I don't tell them that I'm not wearing the Uniqlo one because I think that's what's happening. I mean, like
Mhm.
they see it like, oh, it looks good on you, me, I'll buy it. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't say, oh, this is not actually a Uniqlo one.
I would you.
Why would I?
Yeah,
They didn't.
I mean,
They
as
didn't
David says
ask.
here, right? The
Yeah.
Uniqlo one's is a the goat, right? At least from the
Yeah,
mall brand perspective. I mean,
yeah.
It's
you
true.
literally
For
Goat.
can't get a better one from the mall.
yeah, for what you
Like,
get for, or what you pay for, like there's they don't really have a like a competitor, right? At least like in as far as the mall goes.
yeah, like 50 bucks. I mean, you're not gonna. I mean, Kamakura is kind of close, but it's still not the same thing. You're still like 80. You're in like the 80-90 range, I think.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, they're always having specials for like buy two get the third one like half off or whatever. So I can see why that's
Yeah,
one of their like bread
it's
and butter.
appealing. It's a mass market appeal,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or at least from an accessible standpoint. No,
Yeah,
I mean, of course, we can talk about ethical consumerism in the future sometime, and we
yeah.
have done that before.
I wrote
But
about
it's
that.
still one of those things. Oh, you did for school.
For school. Yeah,
Oh,
it
nice.
was it
Yeah,
was a I think I think it was like it was funny because it's a business management class, but I guess that
yeah.
can fall under business management. It was like oh no, it was
I
like
mean, yeah.
it was business ethics. That's what it was.
BEs, as I
Um,
call them.
Hmm.
the bees.
Yeah. Well, so
There's
bees.
bees?
Job's not on board. Um,
Yeah.
well, I mean, yeah, David says here, like some of the collabs, I think when you involve the OCBD, make it a lot better. Like the Lemaire ones or Uniqlo U, I think
Mm,
make it
mm-hmm,
more
mm-hmm.
interesting. Guilty for Gaming here says he went to see the No Man Walks Alone drop for Wive. Not that great.
Hmm.
Maybe we'll have to talk about that. I know. Speaking of Wive, they were trying to make a cool new OCBD, right? They had
I mean,
their
it did. The pictures looked pretty good. If
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but they were right, but they were alpha size. I think at least initially,
Hmm.
right?
Oh, were they?
They're like yeah, and I think
Yeah.
when they were featured on Ivy Style, and then all the comments were like, "Well, this sucks. It's alpha size. What the hell?" Um, but I mean, the collar looked good. No, sorry, the collar looked good without a tie.
Hmm.
I, I think we can see it now because Chase and maybe Matt Woodruff wears it with ties, but all the pictures were a fucking what's his name that their French Bullshit Book Club friend just smoking it, wearing it untucked with no butt like no tie, and I'm like, bro, the whole I still maintain the whole thing about the OCBD was how it frames a tie. The whole roll is there because it frames the tie. I will die on that hill.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's the way. I mean, that's how you can see all the design about it, right? That's how you see how all these things tie space, the taper of the collar, the button placement, the spread of the buttons, how that all kind of goes in. Um, but if you don't have a tie, you just can't see that. Um,
Yeah.
But yeah, so MJ, how do you wear your OCBD? How do you approach styling it? Do you play into Ivy? Do you subvert? Do you just think of it as a
Hmm.
regular shirt? How do you do it?
Um, I usually wear it with like the milsurp sort of stuff. Um,
Oh, it's
like the yeah,
like
like
a
the
rugged
fatigue
Ivy.
trousers. Yeah. Um, I did. I well, I take that back. I wear them with like the knit ties and stuff like that also. Um, but yeah, sometimes I do just use it as like a regular shirt. Just I need, I want to wear a button up, or like
Mm-hmm.
I um want to, I wear it with jeans still. I wear it with with like the Uniqlo like high waisted pants and stuff like that, and like a jungle jacket. So um, it's for me it's like an everything shirt, you know. Oh yeah, yeah, I'd say that.
Yeah,
Like
I
an
mean
everything bagel.
that's
Everything but the
yeah.
bagel.
Hmm.
Spencer, do you still do Ivy? I mean, yeah, I mean it's one of those things
Yeah.
where like maybe you don't have to do Ivy, but when you wear it, it becomes a form of Ivy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I still also do like Ivy looks, like when I'm, at home. Like jeans with an OCBD and suede loafers.
Yeah,
Um, I still wear stuff like that all the time. I don't take, fit pics of it every day,
right.
but I still love those looks. And of course, like more rugged Ivy stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I still wear pretty frequently.
Mm,
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, like I said, it's like, the a lot of times when I'm just like putting something together, I'll just kind of, an OCBD will feel right or it won't feel right for it.
mm,
Right.
Hmm.
No, yeah. I mean, it just has that appeal, right? It's just so easy to kind of throw on at all times.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I'm obviously different as I said in the podcast. I know I have to have a certain aesthetic when I'm wearing it. But I do wear it. I mean, I kind of loosened that up on that now that everything kind of just blends together. I've worn my OCBDs without ties. It happens. Wear it with shorts or something. I had that whole article about wearing socks and shorts, and then also wearing the OCBD as like your overshirt. Right? You wear it with like an undershirt, like a striped T-shirt or like a crew neck or
Hmm.
something like that. It's kind of a fun thing.
It is
mm.
kind of a fun thing.
Hey, yeah. Well, before let's talk to Ivan. Ivan says here he wants to talk about price. Ivan, what are your thoughts on
Talk to
the
us on
price of
price.
OCBDs?
Look at
Yeah,
these
I mean,
prices, Jack.
Look
I
at
think I think a lot of modern OCBDs are way too expensive. Like, as someone who pretty much exclusively buys vintage online, I'm used to paying like really dirt cheap prices for all of my clothing. So, I see Brooks Brothers selling their shirts for $135 and Kamakura selling their shirts for $95. I can't justify spending that much money for a shirt that I can buy used on eBay for like no more than $30. I mean, when I for the Brooks Brothers 200 year special shirt that I got at Grand Central. Like I didn't pay for it. My mom paid for it because it was my 16th birthday. But when I asked her how
Oh,
much it was, she said it was like almost $200, and I was fucking blown out of, blown away. So like I can't justify spending that much money for a shirt when you can buy like 5 shirts.
Yeah.
right. But I mean, what you're describing here is just how thrifting should work, right? It's
mm-hmm.
for people who, or a secondhand where you're trying to buy something that you couldn't normally afford. And this is kind of a subject for a future, like ethical whatever consumerism and everything. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, it's just also the fact that the good stuff is usually priced higher, and there's some stuff that go into it. Like I would say that the Kamakura ones. I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to be optimistic here, but the Kamakura ones are probably made ethically, I guess. And Brooks Brothers used to be made in America for a little bit until they shut down that factory, you know? Um, so there's a little bit of that in there, you know. And the sad part is that, in the realm of affordability, the good stuff isn't there, right? Like there
Mm.
isn't like those CBDs from Uniqlo aren't online. They don't have, yeah, their collars might be nice, but they're not longer. They're not soft compared to other stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
You go to J. Crew, right? We have sales all the time. Your OCBDs are going to be on untucked length. They're not going to be the ivy that you want. But yeah, I mean, hey, I mean, Spencer and I right there with you. Almost all my OCBDs, other than my Kamakura ones, were bought secondhand from eBay or from a vintage store or from thrifting. You know, um, but yeah, I mean, it's a stage of life thing. I mean, you're so young. It's one of those things where, again, tying to ethical stuff. When you get older and you have a job, it's good to buy the stuff that you can afford to support the brands and the processes that you like. Um, but you got to get there first, right?
Mm.
You
You
gotta,
gotta get
Mhm.
there.
yeah. And it's like now at my stage where obviously I still don't make a lot of money, but I make enough to justify maybe like a bespoke shirt once a year or so. I don't know, something like that. It's like, okay, like, do I want to keep thrifting? Because I mean, it also because like at that stage too, right? And this is again off topic, but like when you get to that stage where you can afford things, you probably have a lot of shirts already if you're already thrifting, like I do. So it's kind of like, do I need to keep thrifting to find this stuff, or am I just trying to get a deal? Maybe it's time for some
Mm.
other people to or people like you, Ivan, where I can leave this and put it in the Discord so you can acquire those OCBDs. Um, but
Yeah.
before we get into some other stuff, how do you like to wear your stuff? And tell us about that, and maybe the types of OCBDs that you try and find and buy. Whatever one
I
you want to start with first.
yeah. Like in terms of how I wear it, I'm out of everyone in this group, I'm probably the most anachronistic with my style, as I've said many times. So, I very much pay attention to like which texture shirts go with which suits. So, unlike the Esquire apparel arts, I wouldn't wear my OCBDs with a double-breasted suit. I'd more so wear them.
I used to be there too. I used to be right there.
Yeah, I'd mostly wear them with like a tweed jacket and a heavier knit tie. Um, Nowadays, as the weather starts to get warmer, I'm starting to wear them on their own. And another thing is, I'm also starting to wear them unironed. Like OCBs are naturally heavy, and they're also really soft, and the button down collar keeps it up. So I feel like I don't need to wear it. I mean, I don't need to iron it to make it stand up properly. It already does it by itself.
Right. Our friend Josh Gooch also famously, I don't know if famously, but I guess he's told me this. He just straight up just doesn't iron his OCB in any Oxford shirts. He just doesn't iron it at all.
Never.
That
Um,
is, that's one way to do it.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
Before we move on, Spencer, do you iron yours?
I do. I just like lay the collar flat and iron it. Um, yeah, I iron my shirts, not all the time, but
Yeah,
if it's looking bad, then I'll iron it.
yeah. I mean,
Another,
I'm not the. Go, yeah, Ivan.
I was gonna say another thing. In the podcast, I think you mentioned that, or was it the article that you mentioned that like people tend to roll the collars like with their fingers. I don't do that. I usually just leave it as it is. Like it'll roll as it wants throughout the day. Doesn't matter to me.
I know. It's one of those things too where I feel like that's you kind of go. It's a little bit back and forth, right? Like you can do it versus should you do it? Do you do it on your own?
Yeah,
I
it's
feel
the
like I've been
classic
there.
Jurassic Park question.
Hmm.
Yeah. Life finds a way. But yeah, I
Finds
feel
a
like
way.
I think I just naturally kind of do it because I think I'm so used to like adjusting my collar when I put my collar bar in because you don't want a collar bar that's crooked, right? So there's that little thing of like you gotta make sure the tie's in the right place. And I don't want this to seem like I'm not slouchy. I swear to God I'm slouchy. But it's
Please believe me.
I think it's such like a micro thing for me that I just kind of just do it on my own. I don't think I do it to like make a roll, but I mean as some of the pictures you can see, right? Like sometimes when I wear a tie, it doesn't roll the same way, from day to day, right? Some of the pictures, like it's crazy that it's the same collar, but they're laying differently each time I wear it,
Mm.
which is pretty wild. Um, Shit, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, I was gonna say I do iron my OCBDs. I iron it like any other collar that I or any other shirt. I iron the collar band, um, and then I try to make sure the collar is as nice as it can be. I don't like make sure it's like pressed and starched, but I just iron it, and I iron the front parts of my shirt, the placket and the chest, and that's it. Because
Mm.
I'm almost always wearing a jacket. This is
Mm.
why I seldom have looks. I photograph it without my jacket sometimes, but
You only see the
it's
front.
still like the yeah. Well, it's also that, but I mean, like I mean, I don't operate on just wearing a shirt. Like there's always some kind of jacket. I mean, that could be said because we're moving from fall winter where jackets were always happening, but you don't hold me to it. There's probably going to be an outfit or a couple where I wear it just on its own. No jacket or
That
top layer
happens, you're gonna
involved.
get canceled. People are gonna be like this
That's right.
hypocrite.
They're gonna come up with the receipts from this stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna clip this.
They're gonna clip this, and then they're gonna start playing circus music, and then show a slideshow of you just wearing shirts and no
No
jacket.
jacket. Yeah.
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 But no, that's really cool. And Ivan, which I have to use the restroom, but you can talk, and maybe Spencer can call on Kyoshi next afterward. How about
Aye.
what kind of shirts do you like to buy? Like what details do you look for? What kind of cloth and everything?
Shit, I don't really know because I guess it's mostly the collar detail that I pay attention to the most. I don't. A lot of people like to put emphasis, not especially nowadays in the Discord. A lot of people like to put emphasis on the flap chest pocket. I don't really care about that. I don't use the chest pocket ever, so it's mostly what the collar shaped like. I'm very particular about how my button-down collars are shaped. I know some of the people in the Discord say like they love all button-down collars. Me, it's like, yeah, I don't really know. I just sort of know what I like when I see it, sort of thing.
Yeah. Justice Potter Seward said that. Sorry, Stewart, not Seward. I had to look at the emoji to remember which Supreme Court justice that was.
Potter Stewart, right?
It's Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart who coined the phrase. I know it when I see it.
Spencer coming in with the 60-year-old Supreme Court references tonight.
Yeah, there you go. We love the
Thank you.
Supreme Court around here. Ruth Conda forever, as I often say.
And you often do, yes.
I do say that all the time. Yeah, I mean, it's like, obviously the collar is going to be the most noticeable detail of an OCBD, and the flat pocket stuff like the locker loops or whatever. That is all, that's all kind of like or no, secondary stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's,
Ivan, what colors do you look for? And MJ as well, if you want to answer after him.
I'm right there with Ivan about the collar detail being the one that draws me to the shirt over over like the other stuff like he said the flat pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing. I'd have more emphasis or more attention towards the collar and the collar length than the other stuff.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, obviously that's just gonna make or break the shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why don't we move on, Kyoshi? If you have any thoughts on the OCBD and if anything from your work in custom menswear
world. Yeah.
I'm currently
informs in any way.
I'm currently like freezing and I can't form a sentence, so I think I'm gonna pass. But
Okay.
Generally speaking, love Kamakura for Off the Rack. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, there you go. Well, luckily I was gonna say about collar thing. Yeah, I mean I agree about the collar being the most important part. I said this like immediately. I was like, that's what you see. This whole thing isn't as much about like, oh, what the perfect OCBD is, right?
Mhm.
It's got to have the locker loop and the back box plate and the button flap. It's like what you see framed by lapels. What makes something Ivy is just the the button down collar, right? And I think that that's so important. And of course, that's the biggest point of contention in a lot of the Discord stuff, right? I mean, not contention. We just had a lively discussion about,
We love to fight.
it's just one of those things, right? Where you know, a lot of people called out that I was making fun of Henrik because of his what do you call it,
Yeah.
the Anglo-Italian one. I he knows we love him, and he also said that when he posted it, it was like, you know, it does look comical, but it helps if you wear it a certain way, or depends on the tie and everything.
Mhm.
I will say
Um,
I don't like the back button on the collar. I don't like that
mhm.
detail.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like if you wear a tie with it a lot, you don't like that. Whereas I wear a lot of my OCBDs without ties, so I don't really mind it.
I mean, but it also, whether it's there or not doesn't really affect if you don't wear a tie, right? Like it's not like it does. It's not like it stays down better. I mean, in theory it does, but it's not like you're doing
Mhm.
anything to require the back
Mm-hmm.
loop, right? Or the
Yeah.
back collar button. Um, but no, yeah. I mean, well, I guess we could talk about some other detail. I mean, to go back to Ivan, I mean, the flat pocket, it's not important, but cool if you got the button flat pocket. I think that's
Yeah,
cool.
it's like it's
Yeah.
nice if you got it.
It's a
Yeah,
nice
I mean,
As
But
I
to
it's
have.
as
nothing
I
to kill
said in
yourself over.
as I said in the episode, I'm kind of like 50-50 on flap pockets in general, because I like to keep pens in there, and so I think what I kind of like is a workwear like button pocket where there's no flap, but there is a button. But that's not really something that you find on OCBDs ever. So if I
Ever.
want that, I'm gonna have to get a custom.
Wait, the button flat pocket?
No, not a button flap, but like
Sorry.
workwear,
Just
like
a button.
Oh,
workwear shirts where there's a button
sorry.
but no
Yeah.
flap, just like a button pocket, no flap.
No
Looks
flap.
like a job for Ascot Chang.
Yeah, I
Who?
will say, yeah, if I could get all my shirts, I guess kind of unrelated, but all my shirts, I think I would do 2 breast pockets. Both of them would have that like workwear button down, but no flap. And then my left pocket would have a little pen compartment, which you also see on a lot of workwear shirts, which I
I
like.
have a shirt like that, right? I have
Yeah,
that.
I have a couple like workwear shirts like that, and I want them. I want it on everything, man. It's great.
Yeah, I have that red like wool
Hmm.
gabardine, um, work shirt with the button down collar. Is got yeah. Both of them have the button component, but not the flap.
Yeah, just
Um,
Benjamin
button
Button.
and then
pockets.
yeah, and then it's got the pen pocket part, which I
Hmm.
really enjoyed.
Yeah, I
Um,
love that.
yeah. Um, but yeah, no, I think OCBDs and everything. Unfortunately, we can't get much from Kiyoshi, but I think I could talk a little bit about what I saw people commission
Yeah,
from stuff. As you guys know, I worked at Ascot Chain. I don't think I talked about this a lot. We just kind of talked about what we see in the brands, but obviously, when you start seeing people commission stuff, they combine a lot of details from other things. And what I say about that is, I think we posited either in the essay or the podcast that the the widespread use of the spread collar led to a new version of the button down collar, or maybe like a revival of, because in the 30s they had some, but like a very widespread button down collar. Like the buttons
yeah.
are very wide. It makes the S curve a lot more wider, like that kind of bell, like a wide bell opening or bell skirt, I should say. Um, and so, it's you see that a lot. And I think a lot of guys when I worked at Ascot Chang, like or maybe not Ascot Chang, but like menswear guys really like that. They want that because I think they associate the widespread with a role,
Yeah.
right? Like um because it's when it's spread, you get on paper the long point, because if it's spread, you need like it's gonna be longer to reach that width point, right?
And it
And
is a
so
very dramatic shape too.
yeah, but this is the one thing. I mean, I try not, whatever. All these places, all these guys, menswear guys, they always talk about, Steve McQueen or all these Ivy stuff, but none of their collars looked fucking like that. Like no one. That's not how it looked like. I mean,
Yeah.
you might see some variations of it. There were obviously different variations. Excuse me, take a shot. Variations over the years, but it's just like, it's just one of those things that was just kind of different. Um, and I mean, I get it if it's stylized. Like I was talking to Lawrence who used to work at Oak Room in Taiwan. And he was saying that even though he loves Kamakura, and this is something maybe we can discuss, he didn't believe that that soft ivy collar worked with Italian tailoring. And that's
Mm.
something that maybe I know that could be a point of discussion in the Discord as well, where like, you know, maybe people argue that vintage stuff stays vintage for a reason because it doesn't really work with contemporary clothing. Like, maybe I don't know, like a vintage tie doesn't work with like a modern suit. It looks off. But I feel like if it was styled appropriately, you could do it, right? Like I don't think that Italian jackets are that crazy where an Ivy style collar would look out of place, Like
I
I
mean, I
don't
think
believe that.
I don't think I don't think you can make a generalization like that and say nothing, vintage is not going to work with modern tailoring. I think obviously there are some things which just aren't going to look well together, but that's just
Yeah.
like I think that's just proportions and cut, which is the same could be said about any other piece of clothing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, um I think it's one of those things where like, yeah, I'll prove it. I'll do it. Give me a bespoke Italian suit. Give me a bespoke Ascot Chang Ivy style button down. I'll show you how it works.
Hmm.
You know. Um, Guilty of Your Gaming says if I wear shirts again, only Kamakura. Yeah, I mean, if you can get it in Japan, I mean, which not a lot of people can do, obviously, other than David who lives in Japan, I think. Um, it's like Kamakura is a good value, man. Like
Yeah, they're good. They're really good.
it's
I
so
mean, what
good.
the vintage Ivy shirts when you could get them at least in the States were what, like $99? I mean, come on.
Come on.
Great.
He loves his Ados, long sleeve polos, nice long collars. Yeah, I mean that like that love of the button down collar. I remember, I thought, I mean, of course, there are examples of this over time, but I feel like it culminated also in like the long collar button down polos. You get
Mhm.
Ascot Chang, Ados, right? I think Kent Wang or Kalaro and Co has something like that. They just love this role, and I feel like we're primed for like the spear point to come back, not in a big way, but I'm like that idea of like, hey, the long collar is there, man. I've been doing
Yeah.
it, it's and
It's like
hey,
you're so close, just take off
yeah,
those buttons.
yeah, and the Drakes used to have it before their long point just looked like a fucking spread collar. I really don't, I still like it. It's okay. It's still not there because they've got to taper and come together, but they don't do that anymore. But yeah, I know that Mercer. We were talking about it a little bit, and on Ivy Style, obviously people love Mercer, but they have a buttonless button-down collar.
Mm,
Um, and I'm like, damn, it looks pretty good to a spear point, man. Or it looks like a
yeah.
very like neutral spear point. Like you see that's not as we saw in Esquire, like those California long points with a very dramatic curve. Like this is a very like standard, 30s, 40s kind of a look. And I really do like that. And I think the OCBD is so close. I mean, I do want to talk a little bit about with Aldous about his choices because I know Aldous likes wearing OCBDs, but there is I love the Spirit Point so much. Obviously, if I could I could wear one shirt, it would be that. And the reason why I continually thrift or I go on eBay for OCB or button down collars is because if I had the money, I would just get a bespoke Spirit Point shirt because you can't find it anywhere else. It hates me when I see people. I don't hate it. I'm just using a strong word, but when I see people wear OCBDs like spear points, I'm like, bro, you're so close, man. Like, like when guys wear it unbuttoned, I'm like, that's what a spear point kind of looks like. Or when people wear the OCBDs with a collar bar, I'm like, dude, come on. And then I think the tipping point that was when Rubato, the guys who make the great. I don't have it yet, but I know a couple guys in our Discord have it. That like their knitwear with a very
Oh
wide
yeah,
ribbing
yeah.
and the
That's really
short
great.
length. They have a
Hmm.
couple OCBDs, and one of their things was wearing the OCBDs that they have unbuttoned with the collar points poking out over their sweaters, and I'm like, bro, what are you doing to me, man? Like it's like it's so 30s, and they're clearly going after that 30s sportswear casual look, right?
Mhm.
And it's like, and I know obviously they're not like if they sold it without it, it would be hard for people to get it. Like I think I know that Drake is pushing the long point collar for a long time. I don't know how popular it is in their terms of their sales. I understand that, but man, come on, menswear, you're so close, dude. You're the
Just a
spear
little
point
bit
collar.
further. Yeah.
I
I
know.
mean, it has to, it has to come back eventually. At least longer
Yeah,
collars. I mean, longer collars already are coming back, but
it
um,
hasn't like come back fully, right? Like I mean,
yeah,
we
it
had
it hasn't
we
it
ha-
hasn't gone mainstream.
yeah,
Um, and I think
we've
are we seeing? I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm not sure if we're seeing the long collar go mainstream yet. Um, but I mean, menswear brands are obviously in the know
right.
at this point.
I mean, it's also one of those things. Like I remember, like the E-boy thing has like their collar points coming out. I don't know if that'll happen with that'll lead to long point collars because they still have that subset. And this is a little bit. This is on topic, but like the vibe of the OCBD is always called into question. Like you have a lot of guys saying, "Oh, you can't wear it with a tie," which is crazy.
Hmm.
But you have a lot of guys like, "Oh, you can't wear it with a sport coat." Could be an extension of the "don't wear it with a double breasted jacket," which people have been doing since the 30s. Uh,
Yeah.
it's not that it's not impossible, but people still have this idea that it's a casual shirt. You know,
Yeah, it's a
um,
pretty curious thing, that, because it's got to that idea has got to be a product of menswear people and menswear blogs, right? Because if it was just a cultural thing, I mean, the parents of people complaining about wearing ties with OCBDs probably wore OCBDs with ties to work
yeah, it's
every day.
crazy.
So
It's
it's not a
Yeah.
crazy.
cultural thing; it's entirely a menswear culture
It's just made up.
rules,
We made it up. It's
quote
just
unquote rules thing that has been
and one
absorbed.
day someone said there should be another rule, and he made it up.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna write
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so weird. I never understood that because it's like, yeah, like you said, when you think about like terms of generational stuff, it's like it just doesn't make sense. You have
Hmm.
guys in every era wearing OCBD or button down collars with ties, with suits, with sport coats, with DBs. It's all there, and I don't know where people got this idea. And I know it still happens today where people are like, well, it's a sports shirt or it's a casual shirt. I can't wear it with that. I mean, like there's like stylish menswear guys who don't wear it with full stuff or
Hmm.
who have expanded views in other places, but apparently don't have it with this one. Um, but all just now that you're here, talk me about what you like from OCBDs and where you like to buy them.
Uh, right. Well, pretty much all of my dress shirts at this point, the ones that I can still wear, are they're all OCBDs, and
Hmm.
almost all of them are from Brooks. Back when they came out with the original polo, I used to buy them on, at year-end sales and bulk, that sort of thing. So there was a pretty solid collection of pretty much all region fit original polo shirts from Brooks Brothers. Um, I think I got into the OCBD originally though because I wanted to find a color that wasn't too spread, and the
Hmm.
only real place to get mass, at least easily ready to wear in person, the only way you could get that was to get button-down shirts. So I think
That's
that's why
funny.
I
That
got
was kind
into it
of
in the
how it
first place.
was. That's kind of how it was for me too. Because my first like white dress shirts were like something from like Macy's or whatever, and then like cheap shirts from H&M, which have like a spread collar, which always looked weird with my really tiny tie knots.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I saw someone wearing an OCBD, and I was like, "That's it. That's what I need."
yeah. Because
Yeah.
because there was a time when I really liked the look of a tie with a collar pin, but lacking any actual spear point shirts, the best alternative was to get an OCBD, not do up the buttons and pin the collar.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Although going
yeah,
back
you
to the
explained it. Yeah, right there.
yeah, yeah, although going back to the idea of pinning an OCBD collar though, it was a thing, and he even talks about it in the article. I think he's got two pictures in there. One of
Yeah,
them
it's
is
like
Fred
Fred
Astaire,
Astaire.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
Hmm.
some other
it's funny.
30s actors. who I'm not sure who he is. It's a thing. I don't agree with it, but I mean, it was done. I guess it's a sort of punk move. No one, because I
Yeah,
can't make heads or tails of it.
I
I'm sure
haven't
most other people
seen
can.
that from like Esquire mags. I don't think I saw that in like a thing. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't recall that. I feel like only like people IRL did it. You know, like it was a guy who's just trying to be edgy. You know.
Yeah, it seems counterproductive because the pin's trying to pull it together and the button and collar points are trying to move apart again. I know
Well,
it's just
it's about controlling spread, and so the collar bar controls how your collar displays outward horizontally, and then the button down makes sure it doesn't the points don't go up vertically. So maybe you just really don't want anything to move at all on
well,
your
maybe it's just about
collar.
pushing that tie knot out, giving it that arc, I guess, more than
I
yeah,
mean that also applies, you know.
right.
Um, but
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
right. Yeah, since my OCB is all original polos, so they're pretty much they've got the same styling points. The original polo shirts, they didn't come with breast pockets. I don't really mind. I didn't really mind them. I used to appreciate the fact that they weren't there because, like Ivan, I never used that pocket for anything. But these
Right.
days, I feel as a stylistic flourish that a flat uh, a flat breast pocket would be kind of cool. But I wouldn't sweat it either way. I don't insist on pockets on my ACVDs, I suppose.
Right.
They're all region fit, the ones I got.
And which one is
Which
that?
it's like the middle of the road one. I think the taste is
Okay.
Milano. Where's Matt when you need him, right? And
I know.
regions, yeah, region,
He's singing in the opera. He's in the opera today.
yeah. We got to drag him out. We've got to drag him out in a break
Yeah.
sometime and get him on board to confirm this. But yeah, I think it's Milano, smallest region, and Fitzgerald, I think, and maybe there's one above that. I wish I got them a bit looser.
Right.
Mainly because I'm a bit bigger now, fatter than I was when I bought them.
I mean, that's me with
But
my natty shirts, man. They're like 4 or 5 years old, and
But
I'm
you know, you
not
go back to the like just stylistic thing. I think I think yeah, the big Oxford just looks good. Like I think
with a high waisted
OCBD,
trouser.
yeah,
Yeah.
OCBD just looks kind of better when it's a little bit fuller.
I think I think I lean on the other side of that, more on the other side of that argument. Honestly, there. Yeah, like some of the baggy OCBD shirts you've posted in the article. Yeah, I don't really like those, especially when the shoulders hang over too. Like,
I kind of dig that.
not that I like them tight, like
Well,
perfectly fitted or anything.
honestly, I'm there
But
with you because you know, I like the idea of it, right? I love that you have a big shirt, but on me, I have a naturally round face. I am not super skinny. I have like a, you know, medium dad build, and I slouch.
Skinny fat.
So yeah, skinny fat, yeah, and so there are times where if I'm just wearing and this is why I always wear a jacket, but I'm like, doesn't look that good if I'm just, you know,
Yeah, it's funny because it's
have
like it's
I
yeah,
don't
it's
have
the
the
same
thin
thing
frame.
where it's like, oh yeah, that's a really cool idea, but at the same time, it does look identical to everyone. To just like a sloppy guy wearing like business casual. Like
Well,
yeah,
and
there's
that's
no
yeah.
difference,
and
even if you're
you
doing
know
it like, oh, I'm doing it intentionally.
right, and
Okay.
that's why for me, right, the idea is I can't wear it with like a flat front trouser with a belt. I feel like that's the ultimate like it doesn't matter if it's a high-waisted jean or a high-waisted jean or whatever. It's gotta only work with a very high-waisted, full cut trouser that cinches your waist so well with side tabs. Like, it's gotta, like, cinch in, you know what I mean? Like, it's just gotta do that, you know? And this could be any shirt. It
You
could
mean with
be
a
a
baggy shirt, right?
yeah, yeah.
You
It
need that cinch,
doesn't
right?
have to be OCBD. I mean, it could help, you know, if you wanna do that, you know, again, I'm reminded of the Cary Grant look, the finale, the climax of, North by Northwest. He's wearing
Yeah.
that with like a very high. He is wearing it with a belt, but it's still pleated, still full cut, and he's also tall and lanky, so it has a different effect.
Yeah, but in the
whatever, blah, blah,
context of
blah.
the film, it's not supposed to fit well because he's sort of given that shirt by the
By the
CIA
professor.
guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
And yeah.
hey, I get it, and we say that in the pod too, where it's like a movie thing, right? Where he doesn't have his bespoke suit anymore. But I don't know. I think I go back and forth. Like, there's a couple of like I like wearing it. And hey, I want to know how you wear it. All just if you ever think about because I guess your default is to do it because it's the only shirt you have. But like
It was
for
my
me, it's
it
like
was my default for a very long time, but this winter I've been playing around with other base layer options, so they actually haven't seen that much use. But
right.
for a good while, like back when I did the uniform episode, my winter uniform was an OCBD as a base layer and layers on top of that as need be, like a crew neck sweater, I suppose, jacket maybe. Yeah, that was my look, but I haven't worn them all that much lately. I think the where the button down comedy comes into its own is when you're wearing it without a tie, open necks, and you've got that
Mhm.
and with the button down it gives you those nice sexy curves, I suppose.
Oh. And you want those sexy curves,
And you want
obviously.
those, I
Sexy curves.
I like my curves, man.
Love your curves.
Yeah, thank you. Wish I could say the same about my curves. Anyway, yeah, that's where it's special. I think if you're wearing if you I don't know why, but if you're specifically choosing why you'd have these specifications, but if you were specifically choosing a shirt and you were going to wear open necks mainly, the OCBD is really the king in my view for achieving that end.
See,
Just gives a bit
I
of
don't do it.
visual interest, I think,
Yeah, I
more
guess I
than
don't do it
just
often.
a point color.
Yeah, I guess I still do it often because I don't like standing collars. I mean, it's one of those things where like obviously there's some intentional aesthetic when I wear the button down collar undone, but it's usually like I take off the tie and I'm hanging out with Spencer in his house. I'm like it wasn't the full intent from behind the creating the outfit, but it's a result of the context of the day. It's one of those things too, where like when I wear it, of course lots of guys wear it nice without a collar, but whenever I see it worn with, like, a leather jacket or, like, some kind of thing, I keep thinking it's still too much like MFA, you know what I
Yeah, it's a
mean?
bit basic
Like,
MFA
it's a little
blasting for me.
too it's a little too basic, it's a little too not dressy, but normy to wear with, like, with a leather jacket,
To
I
teaching
think
men's fashion.
Yeah,
yeah,
and
I
that's
think
actually
Amen.
why I've been moving away from wearing the OCBD all the time.
right, 'cause
So
you have a
I've been
lot
wearing
more
rugby
casual
shirts more,
jackets
for
now.
example.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
which I think
uh,
look
yeah.
better, yeah.
I still, I tried casual jackets, but I do like the sport coats. I went away from it. And I think I'm going to go back. I think
I
I've settled
mean,
on the fact that
this
I like sport coats, but I don't. But I'm weary now of wearing OCBDs and that all the time because it's a bit too, as you were saying earlier, on the nose, basic
is cash.
MFA, business cash. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, that's why you seldom see me wear an OCBD with a sport coat with no tie. Like I can't do it. I mean it's I
I mean, and
refuse to look like Michael
like
Jordan.
I said a little bit in the episode, I kind of like the I like the business casual look with it specifically because at least when I did my internship or a lot of my professors who are journalists, all journalists wear are like OCBDs and slacks. And if they're doing an interview or going on assignment, maybe they'll throw on a sport coat. And I just dig that look. And it's like I know it's like very basic and like I said, yeah, very,
Like
um
on paper it looks like boring or sounds boring.
yeah, but I
yeah, I
still
mean,
yeah.
what you're saying
I
just sort
just
of proves the point, Spencer. It's not bad. I don't think any of us think it's a bad look, but it's a baseline look. Like you could,
yeah.
as you were saying, it's like office
That's
camouflage in the
why
way
it's
everyone else is
bad.
doing it.
No.
Yeah.
No, I also I went through that when I first got into Ivy, I went through that stage where I wore OCBDs like all the time. Like, I think Spencer, like when on the night of like the first debates, we had pizza, and I'm like wearing like an
Mhm.
OCBD jeans, loafers, M43, very like reporter, Milsurpy,
Yeah.
Ivy kind of a look.
Real
And
Slurpee.
I don't know. I go in phases, right? Like you said, like I went through a thing like, okay, I'm gonna do this Ivy look. This like, yeah, you wear it just on its own. But at the end of the day, I just know I love how it frames a tie. And then for the past like 3 years, I just stopped doing it like open collar, as a look on its own. Um, but something that I think about, and we have like 20 or so minutes left. Um, and hey, if you have any question, anything you want us to talk about for the button down collar, let us know. We'll address it. Um, but something that's unique for me, as someone who is like an archivist of my own clothing. Yeah, clothing patterns. About to say this. So as I said in the essay and the pod, there's a lot of colors, patterns, and cloth that I have only in OCBDs and not in spirit points, and vice versa. So that kind of adds to the fun of how I make outfits. Like I only have one plaid spear point collar. It's that blue and yellow one that you guys have seen, but blue check, like kind
Bless
of
you.
Christmassy red and yellow green check. Those only exist as button down collars and only as poplin. So then it has like a different kind of a feel to it. But the only like true Oxford I have is like a university stripe and a like white with a spaced out red stripe, very faded red stripe, OCBD. Then those are true Oxford. Then I have poplin ones in like plain white. I have end on end in a blue reverse stripe. I have, you know, so all these things happen. I think it's the same thing for Spencer too. Like you have different shirts and different
Yeah.
fabrics with different collars. So it's one of those things where we can't really say which one we like more. It's kind of just depending on.
I mean,
It
yeah, it's
literally
like they're gonna
depends
work for.
what collar, what pattern you want to wear that day, and coming with that comes with that certain collar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm hoping
that's
those
If you
make
if
sense.
you had to just have one OCBD, what would it be?
Well, I'll take it further for you. Uh, I'm gonna change your hypothetical like I
Okay.
always do. But if we had to pick between like what collars and what shirts would be, like if we're talking about like what would exist as an OCBD, I think university stripe and white are good, and chambray I think are good as button down collars. The spear points are where I get like my Bengals, my awnings, my reverse stripes. Like I don't like a plain white spear point collar. I feel like that's kind of too weird, maybe a little too dressy. That's a plain white seems good as a button down collar. You know what I mean?
Maybe because it's a little bit
yeah.
more casual than just the spear point.
Exactly.
Well,
That's
because I
exactly
think, I
it.
mean, I think white spear points look good if they're an interesting fabric, like a really like hefty, like linen or something,
Or even I
or
mean even
Oxford.
Oxford
Yeah,
spear
yeah,
points are fine.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
throw in pale grey into the mix, actually, as far as
Hmm.
yeah.
versatile
That's the
OCBD.
most all just
Yeah.
thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm gonna throw in pale gray
My
in
fa-
there.
my f- Yeah, fuck you too. But my favorite color is no, my favorite color would be, if I had to pick one, it would be university stripes, blue and white. I think that's the
Hmm.
most versatile. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that's a good one.
white,
Yeah.
I suppose, but it's a bit boring. Like if I had to choose between white and pale gray as being a little bit more interesting than white, I think.
Hmm.
See,
Um,
but okay, but real quick, I'd feel weird wearing a pale gray shirt with gray trousers, and I know that there are other trousers, but I wear gray trousers a lot, so
yeah, I mean,
you
no,
know.
but you wear brands, so I mean, I think brands
That's
work
true. That's
particularly
true. You're
well
right.
with pale
I
gray.
mean, how pale are we talking? Because if it's a very pale, almost white gray, then sure. But I personally, in that
Yeah,
case, would
which out of
probably
the
wear like a
50 shades
cream.
I,
Yeah, like an almost white gray.
Yeah.
Like, do you want me to take a picture of the
okay,
shirt I've got?
are we talking?
Um,
Are we talking ecru now? Like, what the fuck are we like? Come on, dude. Like,
no, like light gray. I mean,
no, I,
Yeah.
I know, I know. I'm
yeah,
just joking. Yeah, that's
it's
Well, I mean, I think. Okay, I'll just. Why don't you tell like what patterns or colors do you have in OCBDs? Or
uh,
yeah.
I've got a lot, man. I mean, I've got uh, light
Tell us.
gray, yeah, light gray, light blue, university stripes, and like the reverse university stripes where it's blue background, white stripes. Pink
Mhm.
university stripes, yellow
Pink
check,
is the
Good.
great.
blue
Yeah,
check.
pink is great.
Yeah,
Yellow check, blue check, really good.
yeah, pink university stripes as well. I'm literally looking at my closet and seeing what I can pick out.
Well, there you
out.
go.
Pink is
There's
good.
more,
I have,
but
yeah.
yeah.
I also really like yellow for OCBDs.
Yeah, yellow
Oh yeah,
OCBs are great.
that's a good one. I
Yeah.
have like a pale yellow in like a textured poplin. Like it's not an Oxford, but it's got a little bit of a interesting heft to it. And then I have that crazy 70s one that I should just give to MJ because like
Yeah.
the collar is so big, dude. It is like, and it's just weird. I think there's a picture of it somewhere in the blog post, but it's such a weird shirt. I got it for $20. It's from the 70s, 100% cotton. It fits perfectly, but the collar points are just it's like a 70s disco shirt, but button down collar
Okay.
and not fused. All 100% cotton, no fusing in it. It's crazy, man. I can't like I want to chop it up, you know.
On the
You
Um,
should
chopping
chop it
block.
up. Yeah.
yeah.
They call you the shirt
Yeah.
butcher.
I'll
Gordon
just
Ramsay.
put this. I'll put this in the chat so the chat can see it. But I'll just put this like gray plaid
Oh,
shirt
yeah.
from Tony
That's
Yeah,
really
Sullivan.
like
nice. I
yeah,
do
like
love
that
the
shade, but
pocket on that
solid.
is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not mine.
Don't
It's
like
from
the
the article. Just to be
Oh,
clear.
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
forgot to
Yeah,
talk about fun shirts.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah, I mean that's kind of a fun one. Yeah, I think in the
It
article
is fun.
or I think I talk about how there are certain things that a button-down collar kind of neutralizes. Like a fun shirt as a spear point or a spread collar doesn't work. It's too weird,
Yeah.
right? But as a like the button-down collar because it's casual, because it's soft, because there's a roll, it makes it okay. At least to me in my head, where like okay, that works. Just like how like a pink shirt like or like a Bengal. Well, maybe not a
Mhm.
Bengal. I mean, I like Bengals as spear points, but there's a good way like a dark like Spencer, right? Like wearing like a dark blue OCBD as like a spread collar shirt, little too or a point collar looks a
Yeah,
little
that's your like
too
going out
prom.
shirt, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Button down collar seems fine, right? It seems there's
Mhm.
just something about it where it neutralizes, yeah, that the idea. I mean, I will say just first of all, right? Like well, not first of all, but I love Oxford cloth in general, and I would have every shirt I own either in Oxford cloth or chambray.
Mhm.
Like that's just and like my spear points would be in Oxford. It's more about like the pattern of what is appropriate for what. And I actually will say I prefer checked spear points over checked OCBDs because checked OCBDs feel too basic, but a checked spear point feels cooler, and I love it when it's pinned because it negates the like the biz cashness of a plaid button up, you know.
Mhm.
I think the good thing
So
about the checker, like a graph check shirt, yeah, I get what you mean about it being basic, but it makes it paler in shade than a equivalent university stripe would, and I think that's the benefit there because
like
the
graphic checks,
yellow
I just
shirt
I
I
just
have as a window pane check, and it's a nice pale yellow. I think I I don't really like solid yellows because I think that's a bit too on the nose on me. It's the overall
what do
effect's
you
a bit too yellow, but with a graph check, yellow graph check, it's pale enough to a point where I still like it, I suppose.
Mhm.
And building on your points about liking Oxford cloth itself, yeah, I agree with you. I have this hankering to order a bunch of uh, Oxford cloth shirts, but with club colours, but I haven't gotten around to that.
I
Done
have
later.
one. I have one, and you've all have seen it. My club collar shirt from Ascot Chang, based on the collar of Bryceland's, but of course, my way I've got it with the flap pleated button down pocket, which I guess
Mhm.
could be like a little bit of a contrast, right, to like the formality of a club collar, right? Like the pleat is a little bit casual, but I like that a lot. Um, but yeah, I think Oxford's a great fabric for everything. On that
Yeah.
point about graph checks, I don't know, like again, to me, this is just for me, but like a checked button down collar feels kind of old manish, you know,
Feels
if
too
you
I
give it
think
American
to
I think a
corporate.
lot of OCBD patterns have been ruined for me by working at J. Crew for a while. Um, Just because,
Yeah.
like I can't ever wear a blue gingham OCBD. I think most gingham OCBDs are kind of questionable at this point for me. A lot of like,
Yeah.
graph checks or Tattersall, unless it was like the right scale or whatever, I just think, oh, this looks like a shirt from J. Crew.
Or Men's Warehouse or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
But that's why
I do
I
like.
wear
I mean, I do
this,
like Tattersall and graph check like spear points again. Kind of going back
Yeah.
to Ethan's point.
Yeah.
But yeah, with OCBDs,
I mean,
it's a little bit.
there's like that
It's
really great picture. Is it Clark Gable or Cary Grant wearing like a solid brown suit with like a checked shirt and like a
Mhm.
solid knit tie? I'm like, and it's a pinned, it's a spear point with a with a collar bar, checked shirt, and I'm like, that's so cool. Like that
Yeah,
is, it makes it more interesting. It like it doesn't cop out from being a button down collar. It's like
yeah. And I mean, I'm not
I'm just
saying
gonna be a
I'm not
person.
saying that no one can wear those patterns. It's just like my specific hang-ups, I guess.
I
Yeah.
think the
Oh,
problem for us is we have a lot of checked jackets. So if we have
Yeah.
a graph or plaid shirt and a plaid jacket, that's a bit too many grids for
Mhm.
and that's
to
right,
look
and that's
good.
where I made
Yeah.
that whole essay about wearing solids, where I'm starting to embrace it as I start to develop more of an appreciation for plaid shirts and check
Yeah,
shirts.
exactly. Like plaid shirts are
I
great.
I
Like
I
they're with solids.
yeah, I mean, in that picture that we sent with of Tony Sylvester, right? The dark like black or dark charcoal gray flannel suit, or whatever, with like the pale gray plaid shirt and then the black knit tie. Absolutely killer. Solids help frame the checks a lot.
Mhm.
Um, Something was that is also ruined is the critter OCBDs. Now that is something that obviously I don't really remember from being in Ivy thing. I'm sure maybe you could find examples of it. I mean, they had like the psychedelic hippie Ivy, those paisley shirts, the tiki button down collar shirts. But the ones with like prints on it, like fish or flags or
Yeah.
something, that is, I mean, we wouldn't wear those shirts anyway, right? Like,
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's like I'm sure that there are like good examples of that. Like if it had I don't know, something cooler than a bunch of fish or American
well,
flags or
I mean,
whatever you
Yeah,
find
I
on
mean
them.
you
American
But
see that
flags are
maybe from
just
like
young Republican at a rally. That's what that is.
right,
I
but I
mean,
mean, you see the print shirts from like 70s spear points, right, with like fun deco stuff
Mhm.
or
Or those like
like
Ralph Lauren, shirts and ties or whatever that you see where it's, yeah, it's like the same thing. It's like very like 20s, 30s themed, like pastoral outdoor scenes.
yeah. And those things look good as like camp collars, obviously for like the Hawaiian shirt motif, or style. They also look good as spear points. I think maybe I don't know if I'd wear it, but they look
Mm.
better with point collars. But OCBDs, no, thank you. Like I can't, like
Mhm.
no like novelty OCBDs in the realm of like creator prints, scenic stuff. Absolutely not. You know.
speaking of weird OCBDs, though, there was a trend in the 50s or thereabouts, I think, of having French cuffs on on an OCBD.
I
Like I
was
think Cary
watching
Grant,
I
yeah,
watched
did that.
the
Yeah,
first episode of Columbo, which aired in 1968, and the villain wears a French cuff OCBD in that one.
That's
yeah.
how you knew it was bad.
Yeah, exactly. He's got side tab pants though, so I was like, "Oh, this guy's cool." But then I saw him putting cufflinks on his OCBD, and I'm like, "What the hell?"
The
Yeah,
fuck are you doing, Jose?
Yeah,
it
My
was a thing, and I guess it just speaks to the fact that people wore them corporate
yeah. No,
OCBDs.
I mean, it's like it makes
Yeah,
sense. It's like it's just a thing that happens. It's like, what if we took this shirt and made it different in this way? It's a natural extension of that shirt existing. Eventually, someone is going to put French cuffs on it.
yeah.
my natty shirts, Spur Point Oxford shirt, which was never supposed to happen, came with double cuffs, and I actually cut half the cuffs and I just sewed it so it became barrel cuffs.
That's
Well, there you go.
that's punk rock, dude. That's fucking baller.
Yeah.
Um, so okay, so do you guys see? I'm just gonna tie into David's question about monogramming. Like, do you guys think of the OCBD as like a formal shirt? I mean, Aldous, it's your only
No.
shirt. Spencer, you've
Only dress
okay,
shirts. Yeah,
yeah. But I mean, I guess by formal, I mean like would you get a monogram on it? Like, do you consider it like, is it like a sport shirt to you guys? Do you think that eventually you'll, you know, have this kind of
If I'm
connotation where like
getting, honestly, it's like I think we've had the monogram debate before. If I'm getting a shirt custom, I'll probably do a monogram, but I'm not going to do it on the cuff or somewhere super visible. But I do like, like you have yours, like what, right underneath the breast pocket on your Ascot Chang shirts. I think those are kind of
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Or like,
right before the waistband when the
or
waistband
like
gets kind of like
somewhere on the
out.
back, or I have some vintage shirts, which I mean, maybe this is getting a little bit close to just on the cuff, where it's not on the cuff, but it's like on the sleeve right below the cuff.
So you can pull up your
Which I
jacket
think,
and show people.
yeah, which I think is a little bit more subtle, a little bit cooler. But I mean, yeah, I like if I'm getting a custom, I might as well do a monogram, but I'm gonna do it a little bit more subtle, and probably just do like a non-contrasting thread or whatever for it.
I don't like monograms.
Mm.
Yeah, neither do
The
I. I
the
think
more visible they are, the worse. The
I,
more I hate them. I think.
Why don't you like monograms? I'll just first and Ivan.
I don't know. I know it when I see it. Going back to good old Potter Stewart
Yeah.
call back there. I just don't like it. I think it might be tied into an idea of ostentation, especially if it's very visible. I suppose.
Mhm.
I love being ostentatious.
Yeah, I don't. If I did get one though, these obviously somewhere inconspicuous, like maybe inside of the back of the collar,
That's
like a
yeah.
name tag in a
I've
way.
seen
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah,
I've seen that too.
yeah.
I mean, some
But I
people
probably
actually
wouldn't
ask
get one even
Chang.
custom.
Some people had like their like a custom like tag on like the so on the back like upper chest or the upper chest neck area, right? Like there's Ascot Chang tag like the label, and then like tagged onto it was like a guy's um his
Initials.
initials. Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
The really
It was
baller
like
move is, I mean, it's like if you get a bespoke shirt and it could just say like made exclusively for, and then it's like your name.
Or
you
you
mean
have
like
Um,
a suit does and like the inside.
Yeah, exactly. Like when you see like vintage celebrity suits, it's always like made exclusively for like
You have-
Elvis Presley or
you have one of one
Clark
Yeah.
Gable,
expensive
There
whatever.
are
Audi.
watches like that too. Going
Oh
back
yeah,
to the thing I like.
yeah, with like
Um,
the like
yeah, like
etched.
made on the dial, like made expressly for like there's famously is it a Patek or a Vacheron that some really rich Louisiana lawyer ordered, and it says like made expressly for JB. Of course, he's called JB, but something JB
Yeah,
Champion. Yeah, Champion. Yeah, JB Champion. No, something
yeah.
like that.
Camion.
Ivan, why don't you like the monogram?
well, I don't really have an answer for that. I find it really tacky. Like I know what all of my shirts look like. I don't need to put my name on it to remember what it looks like. Like for those of you who don't know, I think the monogramming was for the people who washed your shirts to identify the owner of the shirt. So like I know what all of my shirts look like when they're in the wash. Like I don't need anyone identifying my shirts for me.
Mhm.
If I were to get a monogram, I'd probably put it like on the inside of the collar band or on the very bottom of the shirt tail, like to guarantee no one sees it. But other than that, like,
Yeah.
nah.
Yeah, y'all shy boys, dude. I'm just kidding.
Monogram
Yeah, I
everything,
think it's
man.
Yeah.
I want to
I
get
tell
tattooed.
you what that feels like. I tell you what that feels like. Because I'm a bit shy. So
yeah.
No, I see. The thing is, for me, I mean, I think I come from a different place where a lot of my shirts were pre-owned, right? So if it's monogrammed, that's the way of it. It was made expressly for me. Like
Yeah.
that to me. That's what that represents. And
Exactly.
so,
It's like even yeah, it's like you're putting it in a place where no one else is going to see it. Like I said, I would probably do something similar, maybe not as hidden. Um, but yeah, I do like having little details like that only you know about that just make it a little bit more special.
I do like Ethan's placement of his though, like
Hmm.
below the pocket, like like on the rib cage. I'd probably copy that.
Yeah. Because I mean, yeah, if you're wearing a jacket most of the time, not going to see it. if you take it off, especially if it's not a contrasting like stitch or whatever, it's just going to be a little. It's like, hey, I see that.
Did we lose Ethan?
Did we lose Ethan?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's like full on yawning, man. Well, I do think we lost. Yeah, I do think we lost Ethan. With a couple minutes to go, what else? Let's see. Is anyone shopping for an OCBD right now? Because I know right now I'm actually looking at some of the Madras ones at Spear and McKay. Because it's funny, we were just talking about checked OCBDs versus Spirit Points. I really do want more checked Spear Point, or sorry, OCBDs, but specifically I really like the yellow, like the brighter Madras shirts
Yeah.
that they have at Spear and McKay. But if anyone else is shopping or thinking about getting more OCBDs, please chime in.
I want a black one.
Yeah,
see, like going back to the Uniqlo ones, that's like the collar
Oh.
length is the one thing that's like holding me back.
yeah.
Just get a white one and then
Dye it
And
black.
then dye it
yeah,
black.
exactly.
That would actually be pretty cool. That would probably end up looking really interesting.
We'll see.
It's like that
I'll have to see
OCBD.
how to. I'll have to practice a little bit because I don't want I don't want to end up with like a black tie dye OCBD.
You don't want that? How about a
Depends.
tie-dye OCBD? Oh, is
That's
Ethan back?
crazy. Is
Kind of
he?
sick. I don't know what the hell happened.
We have his voice, but no
No
picture.
picture. I mean, that's
It's
okay.
fine.
We're wrapping up anyway.
Ethan, are you still shopping for OCBDs?
OCBDs. I check eBay every once in a while. I mean, I would love, like I think I said this on the pod or whatever. A lot of mine are still like poplin, right, or end on
Mhm.
end. I don't have a lot of Oxford cloth button downs, and so I occasionally do. I would love more. Like I would love like a pink stripe one. Although I have a pink reverse stripe in Spear Point. But yeah, more university stuff. We didn't talk about Madras, but like that's a fun. If I could get a Madras button down or plaid, I like that
Well,
a
we were
lot.
talking about that a little bit just now when you
Yeah, but you
lost
weren't
internet.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why my internet just cut out for
It
no reason.
happens. It happens to your internet.
Yeah, Spencer Madras is good. You wore one in the New York trip, and I really like the look of that.
Yeah, that
Like
one
you had
from
a
Drix. I
red
like
with
that.
a
I mean, I like
navy
that.
jacket.
Yeah, it's like a
good.
navy base, and I like that one a lot. I still wear it.
Yeah.
But I also, like I said, I like yellow. Like I love that yellow Madras, and I like the bright. Yeah, I like that color a little bit better.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, is there any like Grail OCBDs you guys have? Or did you guys discuss that?
I don't think I really have a. I don't think I have a Grail OCBD because I just don't.
It
I
would
don't
be
think
bespoke,
OCBDs
right?
can be considered grails because
Yeah, because like I mean, yeah, like we talked about a little bit. It's like I mostly think of them as like I'm gonna get this secondhand or whatever.
yeah, and
But like,
even if
I guess like design like the buy the one bespoke. What would it be, right?
That is okay because it's like what would I do? Because I have a lot of the basics.
You don't have blue university stripe though,
Yeah, I
right?
do. I have a blue university stripe. It's
You
it's like a Brooks Makers. It's like
Oh,
like an online collar. It's more modern, but I think it looks fine. I might get like a better blue university stripe. And like I said, um, I would probably do just the button pocket with the pen pocket. That would be the Spencer touch to it. That would be what would make it a Spencer
The
Oxford.
Spencer special.
right.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
so
I don't think
that's the
yeah.
any shirt makers who want to give us a capsule collection. That's that's what you're gonna do.
Yeah, I
Wed
have no
Ethan.
specific likes with OCBDs. Just the general idea of a color that's not too spread, points that are not too short. Just general concepts and ideas. And the only real reason I want to get ACBDs by this point is to get larger ones to properly face my increasingly corpulent torso, unfortunately increasing corpulence.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much it.
I like I said, I don't know if I would make a bespoke OCBD, just because I would do it on a spirit point, but I don't. I never really. I mean, I just posited the question. I don't really know what I would get as a bespoke one. I mean, like,
Yeah, because it's
Nice.
I
like
think
no, yeah, I have like Grail, like I don't know, or like shirts from like movies and stuff that I've seen that it's like, oh, that would be a great shirt to have. But
right.
it's not the same thing with a suit where I'm like, oh, this is a Grail shirt, just because I think, well, yeah, it's just not as much you could do with a. Uh, it's easier to get shirts too, is I think why it's like I don't have a
That's what. Oh yeah,
Grail
that's
dress
what I was gonna
shirt.
say. I was like, for me, the only reason I like OCBDs is to give me a break from wearing spear points.
Yeah.
And again, at this stage, right, all of my spear points have different colors and patterns in my OCBD, so that's still always gonna be the distinction. Which I feel like if I start going into bespoke, then it's really a question of what do I actually want for my wardrobe, right? Like instead of like if you have the option to make everything, but when you're operating from a half custom, half whatever you find thrifting, it's still kind of like, well, luck of the draw. You find it for cheap, you like it, you incorporate it into your wardrobe. Like the Kamakura, University Stripe is a little bit um, slimmer than I'd like, right? Or the Brooks ones that I find are Poplin and not Oxford, so it's a little bit of that kind of like that found nature to no CBD. I never had to think about it as like a true buying purchase as building the backbone of my wardrobe because it's always been the
It's always
alternative.
been there for you when
Yeah,
no one else was.
Always has been.
yeah.
The
Was
OCB
it-
taught me it was okay to be weird.
Any other closing thoughts before we close out?
Jesus has a comment, a little tangent.
What was it?
If all my clothes are 100% cotton, are wash bags unnecessary?
What's a wash
I don't
bag?
use a wash
Yeah,
bag.
what's a wash
I
bag?
don't use a wash bag.
I don't know what that. Like, I don't know what
So
that
to
is.
answer this question,
I'm
they are.
assuming
I think
it's like the like mesh bag that you would.
Is
that
that
Like
for
you would
like
put your
like a
shirt in
hamper
to when
bag,
you
or
launder it.
is that for like
Yeah.
delegates or I haven't
I think
used
it's
one.
just
So
to
the
preserve
answer
the
is we
life
don't
of your
know.
shirt.
I'm sorry, Jason.
Well, no.
I
The
I
answer
I
is
would,
that
think
it's not necessary because we don't use them
Yeah,
when we're
I,
washing our
well,
OCBs.
I guess
Yeah,
I would actually
so
say no because I
because it's
want
all
my
cotton, right?
OCBD's colors to just be absolutely destroyed. Look,
yeah.
like in the Twitch chat, I sent a link to Jared from Oxford Cloth Bundown. He has a shirt where the collar is just absolutely ripped apart, and I want my OCBDs to age like that.
It's
you want
yeah,
that
you want
until
your shirts to look like Jared from Instagram and not Jared from Subway.
Right.
okay.
Or Tom
On that
from
You
note,
mean Matt
MySpace.
Gates?
is that the
Just
ending?
kidding.
Is that the ending statement?
Shout out
I was
to high
I was gonna say
school
you. Yeah,
classmate Ginger Lucky.
you do want your OCBDs to like break in and get thrashed, but it's also like you don't want them to. I don't want them to die either.
Yeah.
Like
Mm.
I don't find vintage Oxfords enough. And
I mean,
to
like I said, yeah,
justify
I
it.
haven't been wearing my absolute favorite CBD, my big yellow one from the 60s or 70s, that often because I need to get the collar either reinforced or flipped because a couple more washes,
right.
that thing is like gone.
I,
So, it's a fine
Yeah.
line between,
I
oh,
think
that's a great patina, and
it's
it falling
also
apart.
it's also knowing your washing machine in the right settings too. I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or
That
you
too,
just can't
but
wash.
over time, my OCBDs that have been thrashed are like, you know, maybe 20 years old, 20, 30 years old, like from like the 80s or so.
mhm.
So it's gonna happen. Like it's gonna tear, eventually.
Yeah.
And as you wear it and as you sweat in it, as
Yeah.
you move your body around, it's going to happen. Um, I do I do get not I think I flip it, and then when that's over, then all you gotta do is reinforce it. Then you're fucked. Like I have that blog post, right, where I I didn't reinforce. I patched the elbows of my favorite Oxford shirt, um, with blue Oxford. I wish I found chambray, but I didn't
Yeah.
have any at Ascot Chang. But that
Really
was
quick,
super fun.
I gotta use the restroom.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I don't know if I'm gonna be back before we come
no
back, but
worries.
my
I
Instagram's
got
down
you.
here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you guys for joining us about talk about the OCBD. It's really fun. I mean, if you want to hear more of a historical, a color detailed discussion, listen to the podcast episode. It is available on all platforms. I also recommend reading the blog post as a companion piece. They're both kind of different. They some kind of go across the same things, a bit more narrative. But yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. It's as Kyoshi said in his in his what do you call it? His
Brief.
story. He was like, it's the best shirt color of all time. It
Mhm.
really is the most easy thing to kind of get into, and yeah, I mean, there's a reason why you find it everywhere, from J. Crew to Kamakura to Uniqlo to the Armory or whatever. Everyone
Mhm.
kind of has one and wears it, and it's fun, especially when you use it to kind of nod at Ivy, which we all enjoy.